Well, good day everyone. This video is about cooling system flushing, the best way to go about it, in my opinion. This is a video in reply to a comment posted on one of my videos. Frank, I can't remember your last name, sorry, because this is being shot like, I don't know, 5 hours after I read your comment. Okay, so flushing your cooling system, right. What generally causes sludge in the cooling system is mixing different brands of coolant. Coolant's not compatible, so it's like oils ain't oils. You know, you can't mix coolants, you can't mix oils. So, you know, with a cooling system, it's very critical that if you don't know what the coolant is that was used in the cooling system last, be you were a motor mechanic or you know, handyman or whatever, the most important thing is to flush it thoroughly, you know, so you got no trace of any old coolant left, because coolants are not compatible and they can form a sludge, like a green sludge in the cooling system. It'll block up your heater core, it'll sit in the engine block in the water jackets, and it'll block up the radiator core. So, what do you do about it? Well, flushing the cooling systems is fairly straightforward. Doing it yourself can save a lot of money, but there are a couple of things you should know. The first thing I would do, if you're going to flush the cooling system, now assuming a total flush, that's flushing everything including the heater core, the first thing I'd do is probably start changing these old hose clamps. Because these are, the stock units are like galvanized steel, and they're really hard. They don't have much flex in them. This is a stainless one. That's quite nice and soft. And yeah, I'd change every single one of those gal hose clamps. So they're just rubbish. Get either worm drive stainless steel clamps, or if you've got the extra dough and you want something really top notch, get one of these T-clamps. T-clamps are fantastic. You know, they're just really well made, brilliant. They also have a really wide clamping area, as you can see, a lot wider than say a standard worm drive clamp. I've got them on the top hose. I haven't done the bottom one yet. The bottom hose and the top hose need to be changed anyway. So okay, the first thing I'd do with flushing is I would probably flush the radiator first, and generally what I do is I take the top radiator hose off the thermostat housing, and also take the thermostat out. You know, if you've just had a thermostat put in, well, it's a shame, but it's the best way of flushing it. So you take off the top radiator hose, take off the bottom one. Generally, I like to take the bottom hose off the bottom tank of the radiator, but if you can't, just take it off the, you know, the actual motor itself, because it's, you know, whatever you can get to, it's not going to make a huge difference. Get your garden hose. Generally, what I do is have the end on the garden hose, the plastic end, because they're like that sort of wide, and they'll sort of fit in the radiator hose. And what you do is you put the hose in, you know, assuming this being removed, shove the garden hose in there, you know, flat out, and try and seal it up with your hand. If you can't do that, then use like a rag or something. Flush till it comes clear. Reverse flush. So the top radiator hose is the outlet. Sorry, it's the outlet from the motor, I'd like to clarify. Because heat rises, so it's a cross-flow radiator. It comes out of the thermostat housing in the radiator. It gets cooled, you know, flowing through the actual core itself by the air circulating, either by the car driving forwards or the fan, and it goes out the bottom, because that's where the coolest coolant's going to be, and then it gets sucked into, if I can sort of gets sucked into the water pump, distributed throughout the motor. So reverse flush the radiator until it runs clear. If you're in any doubt, remove your radiator cap. If you shine a torch in there, often you can sort of see the first, you know, your first couple of rows of tubes, but all you have to do is really just flush it out with the garden hose. Next, I would probably flush the engine block and the heater core. They have a restrictor. Right, these Commodores have a restrictor there. It's factory, so if you're going to flush that, you got to undo that hose clamp and remove the hose off the restrictor. Leave the restrictor in that hose. Now, at the same time, buy a heater tap. Unless you've just replaced it, replace these nasty hose clamps with the good flexible ones that seal. If the hoses look shit, replace them as well. I'd be careful flushing out the heater core, because if you've got really good water pressure, you could bust the core, cause a leak, and that's very unpleasant, very expensive, and a pain in the arse, if you're going to do it yourself, that is. So I'd be starting out with, sort of a medium flow out of your hose, not a really huge amount of water pressure. Reverse flush the core. So I think I'm probably going to get shot, for getting it wrong, but I think that's the suction, and that's going to be the supply. So that's going to be the return, that's going to be the supply, okay? So you want to flush reverse, so you flush through that hose, so it goes into the heater core, then it comes out through there, and just give it a half water pressure flush. When the water comes out easily enough, then jack it all the way up, or if your water pressure is insane, you still don't have too much, but you should be able to get away with a huge amount of flow. Don't use compressed air, dangerous chemicals of any kind. If the heater core is blocked up to the point where a garden hose won't fix it, then the heater core needs to be taken out and cleaned or replaced. So that's my little tip. No oven cleaner, no caustic soda, no acid, no bleach, no shit, no compressed air. Do not use compressed air to clean out a heater core. The only thing you could accomplish is actually bursting the core, and then you'll have to replace it. So only use a garden hose to flush out a heater core, okay? With your thermostat removed, if you've got your hose still off the bottom of your radiator tank, reverse flush it through there. Pardon me. Maybe you've just, water pressure down there, flush in both directions. I like to flush everything in both directions, okay? So, reverse flush it first and then flush it in the opposite direction. Mostly, mostly for radiators and heater cores, reverse and then in the forward direction. Engines, not so much important, just either direction, till the water runs clear. If you're in any doubt whatsoever of how clean the engine is itself, what you can do is take off this heater hose while it's running. You can flush it out with some water pressure in there. In this return back to the motor, just flush it out with as much water flow as you can. Just keep in mind that if you shove water in the hose itself, you could cause a problem with the heater core. So with the tap being there, the taps they're like a two-piece arrangement, and there's that metal joiner. So throw the tap out. This tap really should be chucked out as well. But if you're not sure, just get a new tap. They're not expensive, and it could save you a lot of problems. What else can I say? Activated flushing compounds, they work. I've tested them. They are alkaline. That's how they generally work. So alkaline salts, which is what's in the Repco brand or whatever, Castrol brand flushing, activated radiator flush and stuff. They do work. They'll break up the crap in the radiator somewhat, but use with caution. Anything that's alkaline will corrode out your cooling system. So any alloy components like thermostat housings, this is a copper core radiator because I've put it in, but they come with an aluminium core standard, so any residue from the flushing compound will destroy your cooling system. So Flush it thoroughly with water after you follow the directions on the activated flushing compound. But I flushed the crap out of them to make sure I got no trace of it whatsoever. You shouldn't have any trouble. I didn't, so what can I say? My radiator died because the tank cracked. It had nothing to do with the core being damaged. Decent quality coolant. Most of it's going to be safe. I mean, these things have got a cast iron block and head, so you can't really go wrong, can you? Don't mix coolant brands. 50-50 mix ethylene glycol and water. I suggest you buy a coolant hydrometer, because it's always, you know, they're about, I think, $14 for an expensive one. You know, maybe you can find them cheaper than that. They're a very good way of making sure that you know, you got the correct concentration, which is pretty important, because it's antifreeze, anti-boil, not just, you know, does both. Antifreeze, anti-boil, anti-corrosion. Also, make sure you flush out this bottle. Yeah, it's low, the bloody radiator hose leaks. So yeah, flush out the bottle. Now what you can do if the bottle's really nasty is take out the 2 screws, you know, piss that off of course, and what I do is go up to my driveway, fill it with gravel and water, put your hand over the top of the hole in the bottle and shake the living crap out of it, you know, for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. Then dump the gravel on the ground, and that'll remove, you know, most of the crap in there. Now the bottle's greasy, but it's a fairly clean bottle, more or less, except for the very bottom, but it's actually cleaner than it looks on the camera, because you should be able to see the level, you know, between the 2 indicators without, you know, getting a torch out. So make sure you get all the dirt and crap out of it. Sorry, I've got a sore throat, guys, so that's why I sound a bit funny. What else can I say? I recommend it if these hoses are really old and you got no idea how old they are, whack them out, get new hoses. T-clamps are good, but if you can't afford it or you don't want to do it, don't do it. But they're bloody good clamps, these things. These are on the small side, on the large side I mean, so you can see there's not much of a gap between, you know, these 2 round bosses. So this clamps pretty well as small as it'll go, which is not really good. It should be more like, you know, this clamp here where it's got plenty of room. So, you know, that's perfectly acceptable. It clamps very well, so you're not going to have trouble. But this clamps a 43 to 47 mil, I think it is. Yeah, that's correct. 43 to 47 millimeter. It's a Norma hose clamp. Trident make them and whatnot. They're fantastic. You can get them in small sizes too. So really, if you're in any doubt as to any cooling system component condition, just chuck them out. Radiator caps, I've said it in a couple of other videos, but I'll say it again. If you can't remember how old the cap is, throw it out. Coolant cap testers, they can be an asset. Some brand new CPC caps, I don't know if I can get it off. They tend to be not very good from new. They have these stupid plastic, you know, suction valves there, and I don't know, they seem to just not hold pressure from new. So testing a brand new cap can actually save you a bit of time and money. But if you pull off the overflow hose and the cap's stuffed, providing the cooling system's actually full of water, right, when you squeeze in the hose, you know, like give it a decent squeeze, you'll see and hear the water coming out of that outlet without that hose there. So that's just how I test caps, you know, on the fly. After driving the car, it should have pressure in the cooling system and not have no pressure at all. So if the gauge is in the normal section, there should be pressure in there. If there's no pressure in there, then it's leaking somewhere. Yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything. Flushing compounds are good, but follow the directions carefully or they can damage your cooling system. Use coolant that suits the engine you're putting it in and the car you're putting it in. Like, you know, what might suit a V whatever Commodore, you know, like an early, okay, what suits a VS Commodore may not suit a VE. V's have got the alloy tech motor, full alloy motor, so, you know, see the owner's manual. You know, heater taps genuine are pretty cheap, you know, stuff like that. Genuine's not always expensive, so it's always worth, you know, just checking with Holden on your way to Repco or wherever you like to go. Just check the prices, because some of these genuine heater taps, are actually just as cheap as the aftermarket ones, except they're better sometimes. So thanks for watching, everyone, and if there's anything I've left out, or you want to see a video on something that I haven't covered yet, feel free to message me and I'll go make one.